welcome back. So I'm doing my August wrap up and September TBR. This past month I read a total of 10 books and 4 graphic novels. So I'm just going to dive in with the books in order that I've read, and then I'll go through the graphic novels that I read, then to my TBR. So the first book I read this month was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book, as I do with most of Colleen Hoover's books. Well, all of Colleen Hoover's books. I did a full video review, so I will link that down below. The next book that I read was Neptune Noir. This is an unauthorized investigation into Veronica Mars, but it is edited by Rob Thomas, the show's creator. So it's essentially as authentic as it's going to get. But this is a bunch of essays about the Veronica Mars show. I think it's only from seasons 1 and 2. And it follows topics like Veronica and Keith's relationship, Veronica and Logan's relationship, etc. The way voiceovers are used throughout the show, the use of cars, etc. I did give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Most of the essays in here were kind of boring to me. There was a few that really caught my attention, and those ones were amazing. So the few that are really good in here are definitely worth reading. The next book I read was Opposition by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is the 5th and final book in the Lux series. So sad to see the series go, but it went out so perfectly. Jennifer Armentrout did a fantastic job with this book, and I couldn't be happier with the end of the series. So yes, 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. I buddy read this with Emmanuel from M-Dog Reads and had a lot of fun doing that. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars simply because I really liked how Cassie felt as a character. And I know that she's not technically the main character because there are other main characters, but I really liked her inner monologue as she's going through everything. And I don't know, I thought that the premise for this book was super unique and different, and I did really enjoy it. There were a few minor problems that I have with the book, but overall it was fantastic, and I cannot wait for the sequel. The next book I read was The Giver by Lois Lowry. I reread this for the movie, and I'm so glad I reread it because the first time I read this was years ago, and I really appreciated it more the second time around, being older and having a firmer grasp on being able to pick up on themes, etc. in a book. So I definitely recommend rereading this at a later age, simply because you pick up on a lot more interesting things. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, and the one thing I will say about this, review-wise, is that I definitely love how Lowry described things from Jonas's perspective that he didn't know what it was, like the sled and the snow. I really liked that visual that she gave us. I thought it was so well done, and her writing is so impressive and fantastic that I completely forgot how amazing this book actually is. The next book that I read was The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, which is the prequel novellas bind up to Throne of Glass, and I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. I love this. I love seeing Selena before everything happens in Throne of Glass because it really gives you a really good sense of the character. And I did read this after I read Throne of Glass, and I wish that I would have read this first because I would have picked up on all the hints and felt all the emotions when she talks about Sam or references something from her past. Just thinking back to it, I understood her grief and her sadness when she mentioned Sam. But the first time around, I didn't read this before Throne of Glass, so I didn't really understand the depth of Selena's emotion for Sam. So I would definitely recommend reading The Assassin's Blade first, then Throne of Glass. The next 2 books that I read are both by Kara Taylor, and that is Prep School Confidential and Wicked Little Secrets. This is like a Veronica Mars-esque mystery. You follow Anne as she goes to a new prep school in Boston, and her roommate is murdered and she has to get to the bottom of it. That's what happens in Prep School Confidential, and within this book there is another mystery from 30 years ago that's kind of referenced, and that's where Wicked Little Secrets come in, and that follows the mystery from 30 years ago. There is a last book in this series, I'm not sure the name, so I'll just put a picture here, that I have to read, but overall I gave these both a 4.5 stars out of 5. I had so much fun reading it, and it's such a witty, awesome character. I did a full review for Prep School Confidential, so I will leave a link for that down below. The last book that I completely read this month was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I read this in preparation for Heir of Fire. I wanted to read it closer so that I have a firmer grasp on what happens. I gave this a 4.5 stars out of 5. I definitely liked The Throne of Glass a lot better. I felt like the story takes kind of a cliche turn with the love triangle, but I did really enjoy this book, but I definitely liked Throne of Glass better. So the first graphic novel that I picked up was Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Darsky. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I originally picked this up because it was getting some pretty good reviews. I just want to say this, as you can probably get from the title Sex Criminals, that is a very mature graphic novel comic book thing. It follows a girl who, when she orgasms, time literally stops and she can go around and do whatever she wants, and then time resumes a bit after and she meets another guy who has the same ability, and then they go out and they start doing a bunch of things. I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely enjoyed it. The colors are super magical and they look fantastic, as you can see. But I don't know, this is really mature, and I think that's what really caught me off guard. It is hilarious, there's a lot of funny things, but this is super mature. This is definitely not for younger people. There's a few things, I'm not squeamish, but even there's a few things in here that are kind of over the top, but yes, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next 3 graphic novels that I read are volumes 16, 17, and 18 of The Walking Dead. Volume 16 I gave a 4 out of 5 stars because the story really slowed right down, and then 17 and 18 just picked right back up and just throws you in the thick of things. And this one ends on a pretty hilarious note. It's a little unrealistic for me, but I thought it was hilarious. I love this story. I think I'm 3 more of these little volumes until I'm completely up to date. So yes, if you haven't picked up the series, definitely do, because it is fantastic. So on to what I'm currently reading, and that is Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series. I'm about a little more than halfway in. I'm enjoying this, but there is a certain perspective in here that I am not enjoying, and I don't know why. Every time I get to that perspective, I close the book and have to do something else, kind of prep myself to read that perspective for some reason. That's why it's taking me so long. But yes, this, and then I'm also reading iZombie by Chris Robertson and Michael Allard. This is being made into a TV show, and technically the creator and executive producer of this is Rob Thomas, and that is the creator of Veronica Mars, so I am super excited to read this. This follows a zombie who works at a graveyard, and about once a month she needs to consume the brains of someone dead to continue living, and that's what she does. But when she consumes the brains, she gets all their memories, etc., and she has to live with that. So I'm about 2 issues into this little bind-up, and I'm actually really enjoying it. The colors and the drawings are really fantastic, and the story and the narration throughout it is pretty awesome so far, so I am really happy with this. Now on to my TBR for this month. I'm keeping it super short and relatively stress-free, simply because I'm going back for my last year of my undergrad, and this year I am writing my thesis. And for those of you who don't know what a thesis is, it's like a big independent project that takes up the entire 6-7 months that you're at university, the full year, and you have to come up with an idea and test that idea and then write a huge big paper on it, and then you're graded on it, etc., and you graduate. So I'm doing that this year, and I have a lot of anxiety about it, and I'm really nervous, so I'm trying to keep my reading as stress-free as possible. So to start that off with, I'm going with Rumble by Ellen Hopkins. Talked about this a lot on my channel, so if you don't know what it is, just go check it out on Goodreads. Ellen Hopkins is fantastic, and whatever book you pick by her to read, you won't be disappointed. The next book that I'm going to read is The Jewel by Amy Ewing. I am so so excited to read this. I cannot wait. I'll probably read this as soon as I finish Airfire. This is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood meets The Selection by Kiera Cass, which I haven't read, but The Handmaid's Tale is one of my absolute favorite books, so I cannot wait to read this. I think this follows a society where girls' ability to bear children is kind of like a really important, so they are auctioned off, and the better you are, like they're ranked somehow, I'm not really sure, but the higher you're ranked, the better chance you have of being bought by someone in something called the Jewel, which is essentially like the rich district. So I have high expectations for this. Is The Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey, which is book 2 to The Fifth Wave. Cannot wait to read this. Super excited, as I'm sure you guys all are too. And the last book that I officially plan to read this month is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I'm reading this in preparation for the movie that comes out October 3rd, I believe. There is a read-along going on for this book all this month of September, so I will leave the links for that down below. I'm not really sure who is hosting it and what's going on, but I'll find all the links and put them down below. So excited to read this. I bought this such a long time ago and I was going to pick it up, but then I realized there's a movie, so I figured I should read the book close to the movie so that I have a better understanding, blah blah blah, as everyone knows how we are when we read. So yes, I've heard nothing but good things about it, so yes. So those are all the books I've read, I'm currently reading, and I plan on reading coming up in this month. So let me know down below if you've read any of these or you want to. Thanks for watching. Bye.